Hello everyone, welcome back. So yesterday you watched the video where I stitched in the pinks and the browns on my bird and across his back. So I finished all those little areas that we left for me to do, my homework. So that's all done, the base down under his cheek is done, the chocolate is done. So what I want to do in this video is focus on the tails, and I think that's going to help me decide what I do with this rusty colour here. Now, first thing, I want to use lace in here to create a feathery cluster from which that the satin, let me come up a little bit, which the satin ribbon will come out of underneath. So what I'm looking for is some shapes that remind me of that area that I can use to sort of create that wing. See, that at least gives me a big area to cut out of. It's not very exciting. I hope there's something in here. There has to be something in here. Oh, I like that. That little scalloped edge feels a bit wing-like, so we'll pull that out. What have we got down here? Oh, that's something. I sort of need to get deep in because there's some little flowers. Would that be silly? Put it out. Little squares. So I'm looking for all the bits that have fallen to the bottom, all those tiny little morsels. Probably have enough to have a play with now. Here we go, we're down in this little corner here. What have we got? What's that there? Now that doesn't look like a bird's wing, nothing does. Maybe a little one of that. Looks like a hinge, that should be enough, surely. So now it's just a case of having a play and seeing what we can layer. See, too big. So we sort of need it smaller than that. Let's have a look at this guy. I like the point it gives me, but it's not quite right. Let's just trim this off in a triangular shape. At least with this I could get the shape pretty correct because it's not pre-shaped, if that makes sense. And I like the scallop. I'm not a lover of everything else, but we could trim that back a bit just to aim to get the scallop. And then something could go on top because it's a little bit cream. Not that it matters, but yeah, no squares. Maybe this could lay on top of it. Let's just trim a little guy off. Trim this up a little bit. I suppose the hole in the center could be beads. Oh, I don't mind that. No, not convinced. Is there anything else there that could be layered? Oh, so that's where those little triangles or those little squares come from. Do we do another layer of the scallops? Oh, it's getting finicky. Let's take another 2 scallops off. It's just about trial and error and seeing if you can manipulate the fabrics. I like that. I like the fact that it's layered, and I could have that so it's flipping around a little bit. What I might do is stitch. Where's my thread? I'm going to stitch those little morsels together to become one. Then I could probably look at, I just trim it down a fraction more. So we don't need it probably as big as that. So let's just take a little bit of the bulk away where it meets the bird. I think I took too much bulk away. No, that's all right. No, I've lost my shape. Where's my doily again? I took too much off that side, so I need another 2. I want to try and keep that triangular shape. That's better. Trim a little bit off. Don't get out of control. So it's giving me the effect that there's layers of wings, wing feathers, which is what I like. So I'm just going to try and catch all that before it becomes a frayed mess. A lot of people ask me about cutting into crochet doilies and do they just fall apart? Technically they don't, because they're series of knots to create the doily. The crochet effect is just knotting. But sometimes it can get a little bit to the point where you've cut so much that you've broken the integrity of the stitches. So that's when you stitching it into position on a piece sort of secures it all again. So don't be afraid to cut into them. They're more robust than you think. I've trimmed up doily. There we go. I like that. We've got a bit of, nearly looks like a butterfly. Oh, what's a butterfly? If I've ever seen a butterfly. I could put that on one of those other pieces. I can feel the tangent going off in another direction. Okay, that's plenty of stitches along that edge, just to, it'll give it a bit of a ridge too, which I think will be handy. Now what I might do is pop a few beads in there, some little itty bitty pink beads. I haven't even caught the one underneath up there. Oh gosh. Bear with me guys, I just need a few extra stitches, a few key spots to hold this little morsel together. That's better. And that will stitch down there. Okay. Alrighty, now I'm going to leave that thread attached to that little piece, pop it up out of the way so that I can freely move and I'm going to leave all those lacy bits to one side because I'm feeling some butterflies coming on for some other pieces, critters for the garden. Okay, now let's have a play with this ribbon. Cut myself off a piece. It's got a lovely variegation through it. Goes from dark to light very quickly. So it should be rather nice to play with. Now with feathers and ribbon, try and do the lower ribbons or the lower feathers or the underneath part of the bird first, so that you get the top feathers laying on top. Does that make sense? Doesn't make sense. All right, I might zoom you in just a little bit. So we're going to aim for, I think, here first. And we're just going to come up. Lay down the ribbon. Do we go in on itself? Yeah, we might. It helps you get a point, doesn't it? Give it a go. Yep, that looks good. Then we're going to come up real close to it because we want them to overlap a little, but not completely. I just need to make sure that that flattens a little bit there because it's sort of coming through layers of fabric, so the ribbon gets a little bit knocked around. Plus I'm doing it left-handed, which is never easy. I'm going to go down there, I think. Now I'm going to come up again. Good, the ribbon's getting lighter, which is great. Gosh, I got the shakes. Must be nervous. I'm always nervous when I'm using expensive materials, and these ribbons, they're not cheap to buy. Let's be honest. They are not cheap to buy. Just going left-handed here. So I'm going to go past the tail a little bit. That's it. Now I come up again. Ah, come on. It's going dark again. I might go in a little bit because it's getting darker. I prefer that to be a lighter feather that comes across there. So I'm going to sneak back up here with this darker portion. Maybe the next feather might be better. I don't want to go too far onto the tail feather too because it'll make it hard to lay a ribbon in there. And I'm going to come up back down where I was, and I'm hoping, come on. Oh, you can't even see. Sorry, guys. I'm going to come back up here and hopefully I've got just enough to lay this light colour through. Yes, I can do it. I'll go a little bit further past the bird too. And then I'll get that pale feather. There we go. How much ribbon have I got left? Oh, not enough. I just need one more feather. Doesn't matter. I'm going to finish it off and get myself some more ribbon because I can do the tail feathers now. So it's quite quick doing embroidery with this ribbon. But what I do want is a paler, yeah, that's better. This next bit. I wish I could mathematically work out exactly the ribbon I need for the task, so then I don't waste any. I'm really liking this ribbon on the bird because it's picking up the fact that we've got ribbons through the flowers in the tree below. Gosh, I'm knocking his around. Calm down, girl. You're getting excited about it all. Oh, come on. I'm just putting a little knot in the end. It's probably not the way to do it, but that's what I'm doing. As you've noticed, I break all the rules. Now, let's start with the bottom. Oh, we need one more, don't we? We need one more in here to finish that wing, just to give it that plump, layered look. Where are we going to do this feather? Or do we have enough? No, we will go back in there. Yeah, that's good. So now I'm going to come up here and we're going to lay down some of the big feathers. Of his tail. He's a very fancy boy, this one. And what I might do is I'm going to come up, because it's such a big spanse, I don't really want that on the bottom side. So I'm going to come up at the top there and back down to where I was, because I'll use so much ribbon on the bottom side otherwise. It's twisting, so I just got to take a moment to get my ribbon flat. That's it. So I get maximum, where's the needle gone? Maximum feathers. It'll change colour shortly, which will be good. Just get the twist out of it so we get a nice flat feather. Might just do that top guy actually. Get some of the base feathers down while we've still got that generic-y pink. Yeah, that's good. No, aren't you just the cutest? Being that it's quite good in there for ribbon, and I really only need that bit up there, I'm just going to drop to the bottom and take advantage of this dark colour that's now coming on my ribbon. So you sort of start manipulating, and I'm going to get this feather in, the big tail feather down there. And then I'll come up beside it because it'll still be that dark maroon. Oh, isn't he a pretty boy? And I'm just going to slide my needle down through all those ribbons to try and tuck this one in a little. That's it. That's good. And I might just bring my needle maybe up here to bring another feather out. Sort of creating a few layers now. I'm going to run out of ribbon, I think, before I get it finished. Depends if I can put them in the right spot to fill it without needing to gather some more. Just want to lift that guy up. Okay, that's better. Where's my needle underneath? There it is. I wonder if I can just place a sneaky little ribbon in there. Yep. Have I got enough to do the last bit? Now, I haven't anchored the ribbon like I did on the wing by going back through the ribbon, and it gives you a completely different finish. It makes the tail feather, I think, look a little bit more fluffy, where the wing, it's really pinned down with quite a little point, where this I've just literally gone through. Oh, have I got enough to do one more? Yes, I do. I just want to lift that previous ribbon up so that little guy tucks in nicely. Yep. And I will just get this one in. Oh, perfect, perfect. How often does that happen? Not at all. I haven't stitched around that flower. It's just swinging there. There we go. I did it. Now it's a case of finishing this off back here, and I've got just enough to do a little slip through the fabric so that it doesn't come out. There we go. Our tail feathers are in position. I'll leave that there because I'll probably do a few little extra stitches there just to secure it. All right, little bird. There you are. Oh, hello, your little feathers. Oh, I love him. Now, let's have another look at this little wing, because there's a piece of crocheting sitting there, and I have a feeling I could do another layer on there as well. I think that's the bit I cut off that was no good. So I've got 3. No, it's not needed. 2 is enough. And it'll tuck in there on my little bird. Before we proceed, I just want to have a play with this. I just want to cut a bit of this net out. I like the colour of it. So before we settle, I'm just going to have a play with this one. I don't have the right shape yet, and I need to get rid of that ring, I think. I need to soften. It's a funny little shape to get that right in there. So that's another option. Now I need something lacy to go on top of it just to soften the eye. And I'm going to try and find something that's a little bit creamier. Maybe I can get a little morsel out of this old piece. You're probably thinking, that is just a mess, Corrine. I think it is too fine and too small. What about, I picked that up earlier. I don't know. What about a little rosette? Even the tulle. Well, the rosette's coming apart, so maybe, what about a little bit of the tulle? And that helps soften it some more, gives a little bit of texture. Then we take some of this rosette fibres. I don't know if I'm heading in the right direction, but we'll give it a go. What about some of these little fibres? I don't think so, but I do like that tulle. I think I could handle something a little bit stronger there. I'll put that little bit there. Maybe, now where's that little bit of lace that I didn't use? That's the original wing. Just don't know what I want until I see it. Does that make sense? I've got bits everywhere here and not the right bit. I'm back at this doily again. What if I was to then lay the cream on? Let's just... I've snipped the wing that I stitched together apart, and I'm now fiddling even more. What's the time? See, I can't see that line of details, so get rid of that. And then we put one of these scallops on top of the mesh and on top of the no. You know when you get it, you just got to keep fiddling until you get it. Just not liking it, guys. You know what I wish I had is a little bit of tatting. I'm just going to leave that for a second. I'm going to jump up and quickly look through a pile of doilies I've got to the side and see actually what's in this box. I think the problem with the first wing is the colour was a little bit too stark for me. Is there anything in here? See, that type of thing would be great if it was the right colour. I need it to be a little bit more creamy and softer in cream. I think that'll disintegrate if I cut those little shapes out. What about some of this lace? Probably a bit bright. Bright white. Yeah, no, don't do it, girl. It's tricky, isn't it? Maybe I start with a really cream. So don't mind that. Oh, you could fiddle for hours getting it right. I like the little flower. Does that help having that piece underneath, and then that piece on top. That's better. I've got this eyelash fibres too. Sometimes they're good to help. Yeah, I don't mind that. Now we're cooking. I like the little flower in that lace. Let's get a few stitches into it. I could put a pearl in the centre of the flower. I can trim back that eyelash yarn so that it doesn't completely overpower the little bird, but he would have then wispy little feathers coming out of his wing. So I'm just going to attempt to get a few stitches in this, just so that it's one. Okay, just want to hold that eyelash yarn in position. You're probably thinking, where are we heading with this, girl? We're trying to create a decorative wing out of morsels of, I've got morsels everywhere. Oh yeah, I like that. That's better. I'm going to stitch that down. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. That'll give us an anchoring point for the shoulder of our bird's wing. And I like the little flower. I like the colour better. Yeah, that's heaps better. And then what I might do is dig out the pearls and we'll just anchor a few. I'm probably going to regret stitching this down because I've got to have a think about the body yet. But we're just going to go with it. So let's have a look at the pearls and see. Do we do that colour? That colour? That's a bit of a go-to colour. That'll blend. Do we do a pink? Do we do, let me zoom up a little bit so you can see what I'm looking at. I've got one of these Elizabeth Ward containers. You pick them up on Amazon and they're fantastic for organising your beads. And I'm just wondering if there's a better, brighter colour or even a pink. Okay, let's just pop that down out of the way. No, original choice was correct. I think this needle might actually be too big, so we need to swap out the needle. The other thing you can do with beads in bird feathers is you can string them in lines and run them through the tail feathers as well. Like you can really play with beads and ribbons. Yep. Just a little bead there, just a little detail. You could use a little sequin too. I don't have any sequins like this colour, but the sequin is a good way of denoting that you've got a shoulder joint in a bird at a wing point. He's a lacy, messy little bird, isn't he? I really do like his little ginger throat there. I don't know. I will, after we get to finish this off, I'm going to have to look at my cottons to see if I've even got a colour that would even come close to that, because it is really looking good on my panel. So I'm just going to knot that off, move this lace out of the way. I've got a hell of a mess here. And then I just want to go back to that wing morsels and just shape it a little bit more. It's just not quite right. But now it's secure and in position, I can sort of have a good look at the shape of the wing and trim it if needed. Finished with that ribbon, finished with that. Where am I? I don't know. Yeah, I just want to, I guess, that's better. It's a little bit sharp there. Yeah, that's good. Those little tail feathers. Now the question is, do I trim them back a little bit or leave them? I think I'm going to leave them. It sort of helps blend it to the tail. I'll keep looking at this little morsel. Oh, I tell you, when does the girl stop? She doesn't. She just keeps adding. I'm just picking up my needle. This is still part of the wing I stitched together. Maybe that's a better piece. Just feel like I could sneak another little element in underneath there, just to make it feel a little bit more interesting. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Let's get needle and thread. And I'm going to attempt to stitch that tiny little morsel of lace in underneath, just to make that wing a little bit more decadent. I tuck it just in there like that, so it just peeks out. I love the scallops. Do I tuck it this side? Lift that edge. Maybe that's better. Yeah, there we go. That's better. Oh, let me zoom in and show you. I've just lifted the cream and just slid it in under there, and it just looks good. I think the problem when I first started with creating that little feathery cluster is it was too white. It was too bright for the piece. So my cotton is too thin, so by the time I drag it through underneath this massive panel, that catches somewhere and just pulls out. So I need a nice long piece of cotton. And we're just going to pop a few little stitches in to keep it into position. Take my time. It's very delicate and I don't want it to disintegrate before I can secure it with a heap of little stitches, some little invisible stitches. Now, I'm definitely not going to stitch the belly. I'm looking at the belly a bit now. I really like it. I like how it's toned, it's shadowy. I don't have a lot of this mustard colour on the piece yet, but I have it on the scarecrow, I have it on the pumpkin, I have it in the border. See, it's up here. See, look at that. It's part of that colour range. So I probably could do with a little bit more around. I've put it into that flower, the stamens there are that orange. So I'm going to take advantage of it and use it, I think. The chocolate down here matches the chocolate that I put into the bird anyway, so that feels like it fits. And then the next thing I'm going to stitch on is the actual nest. And I think that's going to pretty much come up and drift into the bird anyway. So I think with the layers of the nest, I think it's going to look pretty good. Just one more stitch up the top here. And that'll secure that top edge of that lace. Lovely. So I'm just going to finish that off. And I'm going to rethread with a brown thread and we're going to put the nest sticks into position that we had talked about in a previous video. Gosh, I've got bits everywhere. This thread will be better. So let's thread up. Our little birdie is coming alive. What did I do with the needle? Oh, goodness sakes, I've lost the needle. There it is. He's a scrappy little guy, isn't he? I love him. Okay, let's get this back into shot. So I found that little morsel. Anyway, sidetracked. Let's get into our little box of tricks to do with this project and grab out. So we've still got a flower that needs a home. And we've got this gorgeous piece of very wide Hessian netting hemp. It's not hemp, it's Hessian that I'm going to attempt to stitch in to give us the feel of sticks in the nest. That's pretty good. Now I might actually pop a few pins in. What I'll do is just let it flow where it wants to flow and then come back and trim any that just aren't quite right. And the good thing about this style of overlay for a bird's nest is you can just keep layering and layering until you get your desired effect. I really like that crosshatch down there. So it'd be lovely to keep that woven look. It's not exactly how a bird would do it, but I like the effect of it without having to do it myself. So I'm going to try and pin those fibres into position, keeping that woven look, and then it can get a little bit messy too. Or do I want the woven look all over? I could bring up, yeah, why don't I bring that up as well? Let's get it turning up on itself with the bottom part, which is woven. Oh, I like that. That will actually make it look a bit directional other than what was there. What am I trying to say? So we've got the weave going one way, and now by turning that up, we've got the weave going a different way. Yeah, I like that. What's that big piece there? That's in the way. But that could lay down there anyway, but over there. I'm going to put a lot of pins in because as I drag my needle and thread through, it could really make a mess of it all. That piece just is too thick. So I'm going to put a lot of pins in to really hold it down, and then I can just stitch away without worrying too much. That'll all trim back down there because of the flowers. And then to make it look like there, it's within it. At the moment it's sitting on top. That's where this flower will come in to help build the fact that it's in behind the flowers. Does that make sense? I may even need to unpick that little green leaf there and bring him up over the top of the nest. But that will work. I think I've got enough pins there to secure it. And then I've got my needle and thread. Let's get rid of all the bits in my way because I'm going to need to get in there, all those bits. And just maybe start up here, slowly working all of that down with stitches so it doesn't keep all those morsels. Now, if needles come on thread, of course it has. This will take a little bit of time, so this will be my homework this time, to get the nest secure with heaps of little stitches so that it just doesn't fall apart. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love how it's in the center of my panel too. It's got giving it a bit of a focal point, which it didn't have. Everything was meandering around the outer rim. So this nest is going to be very much the focal. So I'm just going to work my way backwards and forwards across the piece with heaps of little stitches so that when I cut it back to the shape I want, it's really secure. At the moment it just looks like a big mess. But it'll come together. Birds' nests are not neat. Well, some are. This one's not. He's a messy little bird. But I do have this woven look in amongst it, which looks like there's been a bit of thought gone into this. I like that. People are going to think that I did some weaving there. Huh, which I didn't. I'd say snip back those bits. That'll expose the bird a little bit. He's a bit covered at the moment, but that's okay. I want a few little threads to come up over him because they do get down in the nest, don't they? He's a fancy boy. I think he suits the piece now. He's got a little bit of lace and a bead on him, some ribbons, some little fibres. I'm really happy with him. So just now I've come right across underneath his bottom, securing all that as I go. Okay, I'm going to need to end that off and get another cotton going. It's so awkward, but I'm not complaining. The piece is really coming together now. I hate to think how many hours have gone into all of our pieces. It's so much work, but it's good because you give yourself 6 months. A lot is achievable if you're just nibbling off little bits. I think it's probably helped me realise that I don't have to finish a piece straight away. I can pick it up, do a bit more, and it builds. And I really have enjoyed that part of it. I like to have a few projects on the go anyway, that's just me. And it's probably helped. Where am I going to come up? I think I'm going to come up down here. It's helped me give pieces time to grow. Does that make sense? It slowed us down a little. Look at you, little bird. Look at your little messy nest. I love it. Could even bring that flower up into here. I don't want to be stitching into that green leaf underneath, just in case I want to lift it. I'd say I will. I'll want to get in there and unpick the stitches holding that leaf. So I'll stay up. I'll stay up here, out of the way. Gosh, I don't even mind the mess that it is. I just looked up at the TV on the wall, which is projecting what the iPad is picking up. And it looks really cool. It looks like he's made himself a very grand nest. This area down here needs to be tamed down a little bit, but I think the flowers will do that. I'm glad I didn't stitch his little chest in. I really, really like that. Don't think I'll trim it too much down this corner. I like how that's loose and a bit fibery. Just want to come across the bottom here and catch some of those. So they are hanging in midair there. So let's get a few stitches in down there. Hold those little guys. I don't think I'll have any homework. We're cruising here. I've got plenty of time. 5 minutes. I do want to get my nose in under this corner and get that little green leaf up. So I think that will really make it look like that nest is sitting in there. So let's just bring, and see these three here, those three, I don't want to stitch them down. I'm going to leave them hanging in the air because they sort of make it feel a bit more three-dimensional. If I stitch it all down, it'll look quite dense and thick, which, you know, is okay as well. So I'm just going to put that needle there for a moment. I'm going to pull out some of these pins, and then I'm going to put my nose in under that nest and see if I can get that green leaf and that pink flower up and exposed a little. It feels very secure. There's another pin there, another pin there. Have I done enough? Yes, that's holding. And a pin there. I think there's something else in there. Is there another one? Yes, there it is there. Okay, so all the pins are out. Everything's sitting okay. Let's just have a little look in here. I think if that gets trimmed back a little bit, I need some little pointy scissors just to have a little look in here and see if I can catch the little threads I use to secure that leaf. There's one. Give it a little tug. There's two. There's a little one there, number 3. Come on, up you come. Need to take my glasses off so I can really see close up. There's another one. So this happens all the time with collage because you're always adding layers upon layers, and sometimes you look at your piece and go, oh, hang on a minute, that leaf really should be in the front. And when you're unsure how big elements are going to be, sometimes it's a bit tricky to pre-think all that through. Come on, little leaf. There we go. There he is. Now, let's just get a bit of that away. Let's be brave. And let's tuck that hessian. There's one more stitch in there I want to release. Come on, little guy. That's it. Now my leaf is free. Let's get that hessian down in there so I can probably trim a little bit more off. Get the hessian down and the leaf on top. That's what we want. Perfect. Now, where's my glasses? Where's my needle and thread? Let's we've got 2 minutes. I might just stop for a moment because what I want to do is, no, I'll keep going. I want to get that spare flower into position, so I'm just going to pop a few little stitches in here and that'll finish this off. Then I will have a look at that little owl. I'm rushing, so now I've jabbed myself. I don't know what's going on with my fingers. I've jabbed myself so much lately that they don't even bleed. Is that a good sign or a bad sign? I think it's a bad sign. They're getting tough. Okay. Ow. It's a bead needle I'm using, so it's fraught with danger. Now, where's our spare flower? Here we are. And I think, yeah, I think it will go there. I'd have to just jiggle it around a little bit so that I don't lose that flower, that leaf over there. Just scooting across now to where that flower is going to go with my needle and thread. Ready to come up. Nearly put it in upside down. Come up, maybe back a bit. So I'll just do a couple quick little stitches just to secure him, but I will do that off camera because there's a few minutes of stitching there to get his little position right. So I'll just pop that over there. Okay, so now we've got everything into position. I just want to do a few little subtle trims just to rein in his little nest a little bit, but without losing that fibrousy, sticky feel that we've got happening. We want to see our little bird. But we don't want to uniform it too much. We sort of want those little sticks looking like he's just shoved them in. But we do need to tame it a little. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I like it. Like you could, I'm wriggling the camera, sorry guys. You could really keep piecing in bits and pieces, but I like it the way it is. I might just trim back this pink mesh that's around that flower so I can just get a little glimpse of that green leaf. It's making it look a lot more subtle. Pull back this little stick in there, and that one, I want to see that little leaf. There we go, that's better. Yeah, very good. And if you ever find that your nest is not right on one end, you can always pick up some more little clusters of morsels and stitch them in if you want to extend it. Like you could easily bring a bit more over here to make it a bit longer, like that. I think I might do that. I felt like I ended just here, but this flower has made the area potentially even bigger. So I'm just going to stitch the flower in and then come up and catch some of these little sticks behind his bottom. I think that's a little bit more in proportion, having that nest drift a little bit out from behind his tail feathers. So I'll just do a couple little stitches here. Might lay that one down. Make it go more to the back. That's better. So there you go. My needles come unthreaded, but you got the general gist. Our little birdie, I'm going to say, is completed. I will finish stitching along the back here to get that just a little bit more down. Might even pop a few little stitches back through here. I just don't want it to catch on anything. But yeah, there we go. Our little guy has a nest. Oh, I love him. Let's just come up a little bit so you can see the whole picture. Just mind the morsels of scraps everywhere. Have to give it a bit of a shake when I'm done. There we go. One little bird sitting in the tree. minding his own business. And I still have the opportunity to do a bit more stitching through these flowers, which will be fun. All right, guys, thank you for joining me. Look after yourselves. I hope you have a great day. We've got a bead to stitch in there yet. That'll be another day. All right, guys, bye for now.